Hello folks, and welcome to This Is a Man's World. Today's episode we're going to be talking about how not everyone is cut out to be an engineer. Now, what do I mean by this contradiction? So if you want to be an engineer and you work incredibly hard, yes, you can follow that career path. But the truth of it is, once you're actually in the job, there are certain aspects of construction that are really hard, and some personality types lean towards this and others lean against it. And if you're leaning against it, then you might want to choose another career. It's pretty much the same for every job out there. Some people are suitable for certain jobs and other people are not. Now, this video is not supposed to turn you guys off engineering, so please don't throw in the towel yet. I'm merely just commenting on my 13 years worth of experience and knowledge and seeing different personality types that have worked out there in the industry and kind of what works and what doesn't, and seeing people get extremely stressed out with their work and thinking actually, maybe they should follow another career, and in some cases they have, and realize that construction's just not for them. So hopefully you're going to stick around for this video. Go ahead now and jot down in the comments section for me, because I love reading you guys' comments, what you think it is or what attributes you think you need to be a good engineer on site. So this video is going to mainly focus on kind of like personality traits that I don't think work in construction or have a hard time working in construction. But if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to give some short bullet points on personality traits that I think really do win in construction. Firstly, let's start off with some background information. I've worked in the construction industry for over 13 years, and it's an amazing industry to work in. It's fast-paced, it's very social, it's exciting, you get to see everything that you've helped build, there's lots of teamwork in, it's amazing. But I've also worked with a lot of different characters, all have lots of different personality traits, and the reality is the construction industry is a harsh world. It can be pretty brutal out there, and some people survive that and thrive in it, and some people don't. I'm not saying that right off the start you're going to go in there and you're going to be amazing at whatever you do. I certainly wasn't, and I've learned along the way, but I've been able to adapt, and I think that's one of the biggest things here is adaptability. So it doesn't really matter too much what personality traits you have if they go against the grain, but if you're willing to adapt and kind of work on yourself, then I think you're really going to go ahead and have an amazing career. What I am going to say here is that it is a shame that because the industry has such a harsh culture, and what I mean by a harsh culture is we all already know that it's male dominated, and with it being male dominated over the years, there's just certain aspects of the job that a little bit brutal. It's dirty work. It can be, like I say, incredibly hard physically and mentally, and it does have a bravado culture. And for some people, this is a little bit hard to deal with. I don't agree with the culture, and I really, really hope, if anyone out there already knows me or has seen any of my public speaking, I hope that the culture shifts. But the reality is, until we kind of get more women in the industry and until people start expanding on ideas on how to work better and how to just be more tolerant, I think maybe the word is, then the culture is how it is right now. And like I said, it could take up to 20 to 30 years to change. Hopefully, and fingers crossed for anyone out there that's coming through that's going to be an engineer or work in construction, that this happens sooner rather than later, because the culture doesn't need to exist for construction sites to be successful. I've seen that when I've worked for companies where they have had a culture shift, and things are not put up with on a construction site, like harsh banter or it's difficult to explain, but when there has been a culture shift and it's more of a professional environment, then it's an incredible place to work for, but not all companies have adapted that just yet. Okay, now what type of people might not be cut out for the construction industry? Anyone who takes himself too seriously. Like I said, within the culture, there's a lot of banter, a lot of jokes, and it's a really fast-paced environment. There's a lot of things going on, and you have to have a little bit of downtime. And I think whilst you need to take the job seriously, if you take yourself too seriously and you can't have a laugh with your colleagues every now and again, it's really going to be hard, because it's just something that exists on a construction site. So this takes me nicely onto someone who takes things really personal. A lot of things get said on a construction site, and sometimes it's really hard not to take things personal. Now, I'm not talking about like harassment, or if someone's being like physically or mentally abusive to you, that should never happen and that should never be accepted. But what I'm talking about is in the heat of the moment, it's very stressful, things get said, and sometimes you have to take a step back. And if you take everything on too personal, then it really can do a lot for your mental health. And for me, I've seen a lot of people that take things personally really struggle. So you might want to think about, you know, if someone says something to you and you always take it to heart, then some things on a construction site might be really hard for you to deal with. All right, the perfectionist. Yes, we've all worked with them. It's so great to strive for perfection in construction. It's something that is an incredible attribute to have. However, it can also really harm a project. There's so many things that are changing in construction, and you have to, like I said, be really adaptable. And the perfectionist that just keeps hammering down on trying to get, like, you know, everything down to like the finest of touches, really sometimes cause problems. And a perfectionist that can't adapt and be like, okay, that didn't happen today, so we now need to do this. Those are the types of people that can adapt and can have a successful career. But those that cannot see, I guess, like they have a tunnel vision, they're not really going to be someone that you're going to want on a team on a construction site. They can actually hinder a project more than help it. I think I've said it 100 times, but the person who can't adapt, so like I said, everything is changing constantly in construction. And if you are someone that has like a set procedure during the day and you like to stick with that and you struggle if anything's thrown in and you're asked to do something else, then construction might be really hard for you because you're always on your toes. You're always having to think about the next thing that's coming up, or if something fails, what do? You're going to have to be a problem solver. So if you're someone that finds it really hard to solve problems, then again, you might struggle. Okay, finally, this is the big one. I think, like, I want to be positive with what I've just talked about and say that some of those things can be worked on. But this final one for me is, a big one. So anyone with an ego. Now, again, I'm going to contradict myself and say that there are lots of people that work in construction that have egos and they continue and have careers. I'm not going to go ahead and say they have amazing careers, but the trouble is when you have an ego is you find it really hard to look beyond your own perspective and you think everything you're doing is right. And everything on a construction site, no matter whether you're in management or if you're on the tools, is all about teamwork in the end. And when egos get in the way, it can cause so much friction and it can also just stop the job from progressing. It's also going to come down to likability. If you've got an ego, a lot of people are not really going to like you, and then they're not going to want to do work for you, especially if you're in management. So this could make your job really hard. And whilst you might be able to continue doing the job, I cannot see how your mental health is going to be great because every day is going to be a fight on site. Okay, so now I know I said that was the final thing, but this ties nicely into that. Anyone who struggles to give respect to other people. When you're working on a construction site, you're working with lots of different people, and if you find it hard to respect other people, for example, I've worked with people that find it hard to respect women on a construction site, then, this job and this industry might not be for you either. Okay, so I said at the start of the video that I would cover some of the personal traits that I think are amazing to have and will ensure that you have a successful career. They're pretty much the opposite of what we've discussed earlier, but I'm going to cover them anyway. The people person. If you're that person that can walk into a room and chat to anyone, then you are probably going to have an amazing career in construction, because actually sometimes being a people person can overtake knowledge. So you might be really knowledgeable, but if you actually have a hard time communicating or talking to people, then you're not really going to get very far. But I've seen someone who is amazing at communicating and lacks a little bit on the knowledge really succeed, because at the end of the day, those people that work with you want to help you because you're a nice person. The level-headed person, yes. If it's a really hard thing to get you stressed, then you're probably going to succeed in construction. People that get stressed, it's so easy to lose your mind, but those that keep a level head actually make really good decisions. And I've seen some projects that seem like they're going, the wrong way, actually make a full turnaround, and that's because the person in charge is just pretty level-headed and deals with whatever's come their way. The respectful person, yes, if you haven't already guessed, this is something that I feel passionate about. But like I said, anyone at any level, if you respect other people, then that's a great personality trait to have. And people will enjoy working with you, and people will enjoy employing you as well. So there we go, I respect people. I'm hammering it down. If you respect other people, you should be good. Right, well that's the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm going to hopefully be back every week with new videos that are going to help anyone that wants to try and get into the construction industry or wants to know a little bit more about engineering. So stick around, hit the subscribe button, click on the notification bell, and I'll be back soon.